The silence in your living room isn't empty. It is a weight, a heavy, pressurized stillness that vibrates against your eardrums like a low-frequency hum. Across the small table, your partner sits bathed in the amber glow of a floor lamp, sipping a cup of tea. It is a scene of domestic tranquility you have witnessed 1,000 times, yet tonight, the rhythm of their swallow is wrong. It is too mechanical, too deliberate, like a piston firing in a machine that has only recently learned to mimic the fluid grace of organic life. When they look up, the light catches their eyes, and for a fleeting, terrifying second, the pupils don't contract with human hesitation. They shimmer with a wet, iridescent sheen, shifting like oil on the surface of a stagnant pond. You realize in that cold moment of clarity that the person in front of you isn't wearing a familiar sweater. They are wearing a life they did not earn. The danger isn't lurking behind your door. It is sitting at your table, holding your favorite mug, and smiling with a mouth that hasn't quite mastered the warmth of a genuine greeting. Deep within the forgotten folds of the natural world, a biological anomaly has been perfecting the art of the ultimate heist. This is not a ghost story, nor a fable of machines, but a chronicle of a lineage of predators that have existed in the shadows of the evolutionary tree for millennia. We might call them the interlopers of the veil, though science would struggle to categorize a creature whose primary trait is the absolute absence of its own identity. They are the apex mimics, biological chameleons that have transcended the simple need to change color. They do not just blend into the environment, they become the environment, specifically the sentient parts of it. Their existence is a quiet, ongoing invasion, one that begins in the wild and ends in our very beds. They are the masters of the subtle substitution, moving through the world by borrowing the shapes of those who inhabit it more naturally, weaving themselves into our lives like a silken thread of obsidian. To understand the magnitude of this threat, one must look at the way a snake sheds its skin, a natural, rhythmic process of renewal. For these entities, however, the process is a dark, parasitic inversion. They do not discard their own exterior to grow. They discard the exterior of others to hide. Their biology is a marvel of horrific efficiency, consisting of a highly malleable, nectar-like muscular structure capable of compressing or expanding to fit the skeletal frame of almost any vertebrate. Their nervous system is a web of hypersensitive, mercury-like filaments that can lace into the existing spinal cord of a host, allowing them to bypass the host's neural pathways and pilot the body like a complex biological marionette. By integrating directly into the motor cortex, they can replicate movement with staggering accuracy, though the consciousness driving those muscles remains entirely alien, a cold intelligence observing from the basement of the brain. Observation of these creatures in the wild reveals a chilling hierarchy of mimicry. The transition often begins with the canine or the feline. Consider the stray dog you see at the edge of a forest, the one that stands a little too still, whose bark sounds less like a warning and more like a recording played at the wrong speed. These are the scouts. A mimic will find an isolated animal and, through a process of biomolecular grafting, effectively unzip the creature's external layer. Within hours, the predator has nested inside the fur and hide, adopting the scent, the gait, and the basic instincts of the creature it has replaced. This accounts for a significant portion of their life cycle, a period of adaptation where they learn the nuances of social interaction by observing the pack or the pride. They watch how a dog greets its master, how a cat grooms itself, all while the original animal is long gone, replaced by a hollow duplicate. There is a documented phenomenon among those who wander the deep woods known as the quiet season, where the usual symphony of the forest, the chittering of squirrels, the morning bird song, the rustle of deer, simply ceases. It isn't that the animals have fled, it's that they have been replaced by something that doesn't yet know how to make the right noises. Rangers report seeing deer standing on two legs for seconds at a time, or owls that stare with eyes possessing a distinct, human-like focus. The animal kingdom is their testing ground, a laboratory where these thieves practice the delicate choreography of maintaining a stolen form. They study the weight of a limb, the tilt of a head, and the precise timing of a blink, all in preparation for the ultimate prize, the human shell. In these quiet woods, the tension is palpable, as the natural world recoils from the presence of things that look like its children, but possess none of their spirit. When an interloper targets a domestic animal, the danger enters the sanctuary of our homes. A pet is the perfect bridge, a Trojan horse of fur and loyalty. They inhabit the dogs and cats we bring into our most private spaces, using the unconditional trust we provide to gain entry. Imagine your golden retriever sitting at the foot of your bed, watching you sleep. You think it's a sign of devotion, but in reality, it may be a creature behind a mask, mapping the contours of your face, learning the cadence of your breathing, and waiting for the moment your defenses are at their lowest. They are patient beyond human comprehension. They do not hunt with claws, they hunt with proximity. They linger at the edge of your peripheral vision, a shadow that stays a second too long after you've turned away. The trust we place in our companions becomes the very tool used to dismantle our safety. As the creature transitions from animal to human, the process becomes more complex and far more disturbing. The graft requires the thief to dissolve its previous animal form from the inside out, creating a vacuum that it fills with the stolen human identity. This is where the element of lost control begins to manifest. Those who have experienced the early stages of such an encounter describe a sensation of mental thinning, as if their thoughts are being overheard by a second set of ears inside their own skull. It is a biological hijack. The thief doesn't just want your skin, it wants the rhythm of your life. It wants your memories, your habits, and your voice, but it can never quite grasp the soul that fuels them. The conflict is internal and absolute, a struggle for the very seat of the self that most victims do not even realize they are losing until the final layers are peeled away. This leads to the uncanny valley effect that so often warns us of their presence. You might notice a coworker who suddenly stops using contractions in their speech, or a neighbor who begins to walk with a slight hitching gait as if they are forgetting which muscle moves which bone. The skin is a perfect replica, but the consciousness underneath is struggling with the sheer complexity of being human. They are like actors who have memorized the lines but do not understand the play. They can mimic the smile, but the muscles around the eyes don't crinkle in quite the right way. They can mimic the laugh, but it comes from the throat, not the chest. It is a performance of humanity, lacking the warmth of the original. These small glitches are the static in the broadcast of their deception. The only clues we have that the person standing before us is an imitation of life. The most terrifying prospect is the realization that the version of you that people see might not be you at all, even while you are still there. Some theories suggest that the consciousness of the original host isn't immediately destroyed. Instead, it is pushed into a corner of the mind, a silent observer trapped in a body it no longer controls. You become a passenger in your own skin, watching through your own eyes as your hands reach out to touch your loved ones, knowing that those hands are being moved by a cold, calculating intelligence that views you as nothing more than a convenient suit of clothes. You are a ghost in the machine of your own biology, screaming into a void that no one else can hear. The conflict isn't just between the hunter and the prey. It is a permanent, internal exile where the victim must witness their own life being lived by a stranger. Environmental factors often play a role in revealing these mimics. They are sensitive to rapid temperature changes, as their stolen anatomy lacks the deep-seated vascular support of a natural organism. In extreme cold, a mimic's face might become rigid, the expressions freezing into a grotesque mask of neutral observation. In high humidity, the graft can sometimes lose its adhesion, leading to subtle ripples under the surface of the skin, like something small and many-legged is scurrying just beneath the epidermis. This isn't just body horror, it is the ultimate loss of autonomy. Your physical form, the very thing that defines your presence in the world, becomes a tool for an entity that has no face of its own. These physical failures are the cracks in the mirror, revealing the hollow, gelatinous truth that hides behind the facade of flesh and bone. Consider the implications for our society. If a creature can successfully navigate the transition from a forest predator to a domestic pet, and finally to a functioning member of a human community, how many of them are already among us? They wouldn't seek positions of great power where they would be under constant scrutiny. Instead, they would choose the mundane, the invisible, the people we pass every day without a second thought. The librarian, the delivery driver, the person sitting 3 rows behind you on the bus. They thrive in the background, weaving themselves into the fabric of our lives until the fabric itself is made of stolen threads. They are the masters of the unremarkable, hiding in the crowd, ensuring their survival by being exactly as ordinary as the people they replaced. The conflict arises when 2 mimics encounter one another. They have no allegiance to their own kind, only a singular drive for self-preservation and refinement. In the wild, this results in a silent, brutal competition where creatures shed and reshed forms in a dizzying cycle of consumption. In a human environment, it manifests as a deep, instinctual paranoia. If you find yourself feeling an irrational sense of dread around a certain person, it might not be a personality clash. It might be your ancient, animal instincts recognizing a fellow predator wearing a mask that is just a little too perfect. It is the friction between 2 hollow things trying to act as if they are full, a collision of 2 vacuums that threatens to pull in everyone around them. The scientific community remains largely silent on the matter, perhaps because the evidence is so inherently unstable. How do you study a specimen that can dissolve its identity upon discovery? Any physical remains left behind after a mimic is compromised quickly revert to a generic, protein-rich sludge, leaving no trace of the complex organism that once inhabited the skin. It is a perfect evolutionary defense mechanism: erasure. They leave no fossils, no DNA that isn't stolen, and no history other than the trail of empty lives they leave in their wake. They are the ghosts of the evolutionary tree, appearing only when they have something to take and vanishing the moment the light of scrutiny becomes too bright. We must look closer at the animals in our lives. The portion of this phenomenon that remains rooted in the animal kingdom is our only window into their world. When a bird flies into a window, is it a mistake? Or is it a mimic struggling with the physics of flight? When a cat stares intently at a blank wall, is it seeing something we can't? Or is the creature inside the cat's skin experiencing a momentary lapse in its sensory processing? These small glitches are the only cracks in the armor of the interlopers. They are the reminders that beneath the familiar fur and the well-known faces, something alien is trying very hard to pretend it belongs. Every error in their performance is a chance for us to see the predator for what it really is, before the mask is tightened once more. The risk is not just a physical one, it is an existential threat. If we can no longer trust the eyes of our companions or the touch of our partners, the very foundation of human connection begins to crumble. The skin thieves don't need to conquer us with weapons. They only need to wait until we are too afraid to trust anyone. They turn our world into a hall of mirrors where every reflection is a potential hunter. The true dark thriller of our existence is the possibility that the humanity we prize so highly is just a costume that can be slipped on and off by something that doesn't even have a name. Our memories, our loves, and our very identities are the currency of a market we didn't know existed, traded by things that have no hearts to beat. As you sit there, you might feel a sudden urge to check the person in the room with you. You might look for the shimmer in their eyes or the slight lag in their smile. But remember, the skin thieves are masters of the long game. They have had millions of years to practice. They know you are looking. They know what you expect to see. And they are very, very good at being exactly who you want them to be. The person you love, the pet you cherish, the stranger you ignore. Any one of them could be a hollowed-out shell, a beautiful piece of taxidermy animated by a hunger that has no end. They do not just take your place, they take your peace, leaving behind a world where every smile is a potential trap. The mirror in your hallway waits for you. When you walk past it, take a moment to look at your own reflection. Watch the way your skin moves over your knuckles. Feel the weight of your thoughts in your head. Is that really you looking back? Or is it just the most sophisticated version of the graft yet? The itch at the back of your neck isn't just dry skin. It's the feeling of something checking the fit, ensuring the edges are smooth and the seams are hidden. The tragedy of the skin thief is that by the time you realize you've been replaced, you'll be the only one who isn't invited to the party. You will be the silence in the room, the observer in the basement of your own mind. You will watch as the thing wearing your face leans in to kiss your spouse goodnight. You will watch it laugh at jokes you didn't tell and comfort children you no longer have the arms to hold. There is no cure for a stolen life. There is only the vigilance of the paranoid and the cold comfort of the truth. We are not the masters of this planet. We are just the current fashion. And in the shadows, the skin thieves are always looking for a new look, a new life, and a new skin to call their own. They are the ultimate consumers, and we are the ultimate product. The transition is seamless, the theft is absolute, and the silence is permanent. Keep your eyes open, watch for the glitches, and never, ever trust a smile that doesn't reach the eyes. Because, in a world of thieves, the only thing truly yours is the skin you're currently in, at least for now. As the light fades and the house grows quiet, listen to the breathing of those around you. Is it the steady rise and fall of a human chest? Or is it the calculated rhythm of something simply mimicking the air? The answer might be standing right behind you, waiting for the perfect moment to try on a new life. Be careful whose eyes you look into. You might just find yourself looking at a reflection that has already decided you are the perfect fit. The weight of this reality is not meant to inspire panic, but a profound, chilling awareness. We exist in a fragile state of biological integrity, a brief moment where our forms belong solely to us. But the interlopers teach us that identity is a currency, and like all currency, it can be spent, stolen, or forged. The next time you feel a shiver that isn't caused by the wind, or notice a shadow that doesn't quite match the movement of the person casting it, do not look away. That moment of recognition is the only weapon you have. In the quiet, pressurized stillness of your own life, remember that the most dangerous thing in the room isn't the monster under the bed. It's the one currently making it, wearing your favorite shirt and humming a tune it learned from your own memories. Stay alert, for the theft is silent, and the replacement is absolute.